The world often tells us that being chosen is a mark of success, a signal that we are special, distinct from the crowd. But what if, in the pursuit of greatness, we find ourselves surrounded by the very thing we fear most, loneliness? Isn't it curious how, when we stand out, when we rise above the ordinary, the world we once knew begins to shrink around us and we are left with an eerie emptiness? Why do those who are chosen often feel more isolated, broken, even when they have it all? This is the paradox of greatness. The truth is, being chosen isn't a promise of fulfillment. It's a burden, one that few truly understand. They see the applause, the recognition, the success, but they never see the isolation that often comes with it. There's a silent struggle that those who are chosen face, a battle that no one really talks about. People who stand in the spotlight often feel like they are standing alone in the dark, yearning for a connection they can never seem to find. And this loneliness, this sense of being broken, can be a devastating weight on the soul. Have you ever wondered why, despite all the glory and accolades, those who seem to have everything often feel like they have nothing? It's a question that seems almost too difficult to answer. Yet it lies at the heart of why the chosen ones often seem so detached from the world around them. It's not because they don't have the support they need, but because they are forced to navigate a world that has placed them on a pedestal, often one that is too high to reach anyone else. The higher they rise, the further they drift away from the people they care about. And with this separation comes a gnawing emptiness. They may be surrounded by people, but they feel as though no one truly understands them, no one truly sees them for who they are. It's as if the very thing that should bring them happiness, being chosen, becomes the source of their greatest sorrow. The chosen ones often find themselves walking a path of paradoxes, where every step forward seems to take them further away from the things they value most: connection, love, and understanding. As they climb higher, they are forced to leave behind parts of themselves they can never fully reclaim. They may be surrounded by admirers, fans, or colleagues, but their hearts ache for genuine human connection, a kind of bond that can't be forged by admiration or superficial interactions. This paradox becomes a cycle, one that is incredibly difficult to break. The higher they rise, the more alone they feel, and the more alone they feel, the harder it becomes to break free from their isolation. It's as though they are locked in a prison of their own making, unable to find the escape they so desperately crave. Why is it that those who seem to have everything, a successful career, fame, wealth, feel the most broken? The truth is that their success often comes at a cost, one that is too high for many to understand. It's the cost of losing their sense of self, of being disconnected from the very world they once knew. When the chosen ones reach the pinnacle of success, they often lose touch with the simple pleasures of life, the things that make them human. They become consumed by the pressures of their success, constantly striving for more, yet never feeling satisfied. They are trapped in a cycle of ambition and achievement that leaves them feeling empty inside. They may have everything the world could offer, but they are still searching for something more, something that no amount of success can provide. It's in these moments of silence, when the applause fades and the crowds disperse, that the chosen ones feel the weight of their isolation. The world moves on, but they are left standing still, searching for something that can fill the void they carry within. They begin to wonder if they made the right choice in seeking the spotlight, in pursuing a path that has led them so far away from the things that once mattered most. The fame, the fortune, the admiration, all of it seems hollow when compared to the feeling of genuine connection. They long for someone who can truly understand them, someone who can see beyond the facade of success and recognize the person they still are beneath it all. And then there's the emotional exhaustion. Being chosen means constantly being in the spotlight, constantly being watched, judged, and scrutinized. The weight of others' expectations becomes unbearable, and it's difficult to navigate life when every move you make is under the microscope. There is no space for vulnerability, no room for imperfection. The chosen ones are expected to be flawless, to always perform at their best, but this expectation becomes an impossible standard to live up to. It drains them emotionally, mentally, and physically. They begin to feel as though they are nothing more than a character in someone else's story, rather than the protagonist of their own. This emotional exhaustion is compounded by the fear of being misunderstood. The chosen ones often struggle with the feeling that no one truly knows who they are. They may have millions of fans or followers, but they often feel disconnected from those who are closest to them. It's as if their true self is hidden behind a mask that they can never take off. And the longer they wear that mask, the more difficult it becomes to remember who they really are. They may have people around them, but they don't have anyone who truly understands their inner world, their struggles, and their dreams. This creates a sense of isolation that is both profound and painful. Psychologically, the pressure to always be on takes a toll. The chosen ones are often expected to be constantly happy, constantly successful, constantly thriving. But the truth is that everyone has moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty. The chosen ones are no different. Yet, because they are held to a higher standard, they feel as though they must hide these emotions to put on a brave face even when they feel broken inside. This emotional burden can become overwhelming, leading to feelings of anxiety, depression, and self-doubt. They begin to wonder if they can ever truly be themselves, if they can ever let their guard down, or if they will always be trapped in this never-ending cycle of perfection and performance. But perhaps the most painful aspect of all is the fear of rejection. Those who are chosen often fear that if they were to show their true selves, if they were to let go of the image they've built, they would be rejected. They fear that without their success or their accomplishments they would be nothing. This fear of rejection, this fear of being truly seen and not accepted, keeps them locked in a state of perpetual isolation. They long for connection, for love, but they are terrified of the vulnerability that comes with it. They are trapped between the desire for intimacy and the fear of being judged. In this constant tug-of-war between connection and isolation, the chosen ones often find themselves broken, lost in the void of their own mind. They may have everything that the world says should make them happy, but they still feel incomplete. The very thing that was supposed to bring them fulfillment, their success, their recognition, their fame, has become the very source of their misery. It's a cruel irony, one that only those who are chosen can truly understand. The more they achieve, the more they lose themselves, and the more they lose themselves, the lonelier they become. They ask themselves, what was it all for? What does it mean to be chosen if it only leads to a sense of emptiness? The world may applaud their accomplishments, but it is in the quiet moments of reflection that they realize the truth. The cost of being chosen is far greater than anyone could have ever anticipated. The loneliness and the brokenness are not just side effects of success, they are its inevitable consequences. And so, the chosen ones are left to navigate a world that both elevates and isolates them, struggling to find meaning in a life that seems so full yet feels so empty. The journey of the chosen ones often begins with a dream, a spark of ambition that drives them toward greatness. But what happens when that ambition reaches its peak? What happens when the goal is achieved and the world recognizes them as the best, the brightest, the most talented? The answer is not what one might expect. Instead of feeling complete, the chosen ones often experience a profound sense of disillusionment. The fame, the power, the recognition, none of it fills the emptiness within. It's as if the moment they step into the spotlight, they lose something essential about themselves. What they thought was the pinnacle of their existence becomes the beginning of an even greater struggle. They realize that in their quest to be extraordinary, they have become something other than human. And this realization, the awareness that they are no longer grounded in the same reality as others, is what makes them feel so profoundly alone. In the eyes of the world, the chosen ones are seen as the epitome of success, but in their hearts they know something else is missing. They long for a sense of normalcy, for a life not defined by the expectations of others, but by their own desires and passions. Yet the higher they climb, the harder it becomes to find that sense of authenticity. Success pulls them further and further from the people they once knew, from the things that once brought them joy. They are forced to embrace a version of themselves that is shaped not by their inner truth, but by the demands of the world around them. And this inner conflict is what breeds the loneliness that often accompanies being chosen. No one knows the real them. Not their friends, not their family, not even the people who cheer for them from afar. The isolation becomes almost unbearable, as they realize that their true self has been buried beneath the weight of expectations and achievements. But it's not just the external world that causes this sense of isolation. Internally, the chosen ones face a constant battle with their own mind. The fear of failure looms large, as they wonder whether they can maintain their place at the top. With every success, there's an even greater fear that the fall will be just as dramatic, It's this constant pressure, this perpetual need to stay on top that gnaws at their peace of mind. And because of this, they begin to question their worth. Are they truly valued for who they are, or are they simply admired for what they've achieved? The realization that their worth is tied not to their identity but to their accomplishments shatters their sense of self. And this brokenness, the awareness that they are more than their achievements, but that the world doesn't see them that way, fuels their loneliness. They become trapped in a cycle of seeking validation. They chase after new accomplishments, new successes, believing that the next big thing will finally give them the peace and happiness they crave. But it never comes. Instead, they are left feeling more hollow with each passing triumph. The recognition they once sought so desperately becomes meaningless when it's clear that it cannot fill the emptiness they feel inside. They are left asking themselves, what is the point of it all? What is the point of being chosen if the reward is only more isolation, more pressure, more distance from the people they love? The psychological toll of this constant striving is immense. Over time, the chosen ones begin to lose touch with the very things that once brought them joy. The simple pleasures of life, the quiet moments with loved ones, the sense of peace that comes from a life not driven by ambition, seem to slip further and further away. Their world becomes a blur of constant motion, a never-ending chase for more. And in this chase, they lose sight of who they are and what truly matters to them. They become consumed by their own success, their own image, and in doing so, they lose the ability to connect with the things that used to ground them. This disconnect from the world around them creates a sense of emptiness that they can't seem to escape. They may have everything the world says they should want, wealth, fame, admiration, but they feel as though they have nothing at all. They are constantly surrounded by people, yet they feel utterly alone. They may be in the company of friends, family, and colleagues, but the conversations they have are shallow, superficial, and devoid of the deep connection they long for. No one truly understands them. No one sees beyond the image they've created. They yearn for someone who can look past the accolades and the persona and see them as they truly are. A person, not a symbol. But this kind of connection seems increasingly impossible to find. As time goes on, the chosen ones begin to grapple with a deep sense of dissatisfaction. They have achieved everything they set out to do, yet they feel as though they have lost something irreplaceable in the process. The sacrifices they made, the relationships they neglected, the dreams they abandoned, the parts of themselves they buried, begin to weigh heavily on their hearts. They wonder if it was all worth it, if the success they fought so hard for truly brings the fulfillment they thought it would. And in these moments of reflection, they realize that the price of being chosen was far steeper than they ever anticipated. This sense of dissatisfaction often leads to a profound sense of brokenness. The chosen ones may look at their lives and feel as though they are nothing more than a collection of accomplishments, a series of milestones that don't add up to a meaningful existence. They are no longer sure who they are outside of their success. And because their identity has become so intertwined with their achievements, they struggle to find meaning in anything else. They may feel as though they are nothing without their fame, their recognition, their place at the top. This realization that they are broken and incomplete creates a sense of despair that is difficult to overcome. The pain of this brokenness is compounded by the fear of being vulnerable. Those who are chosen are expected to be strong, resilient, and unwavering in their success. They are not allowed to show weakness, to admit that they are struggling, or to express their pain. This pressure to maintain an image of perfection keeps them locked in a cycle of silence and isolation. They may long to reach out, to ask for help, but they fear that doing so will be seen as a weakness, a failure. So they remain silent, trapped in their own minds, unable to find a way out. In this silence, the loneliness deepens. The chosen ones may begin to question whether they will ever truly find someone who understands them. They may wonder if they are destined to be alone, to walk through life surrounded by people but never truly connected to anyone. They long for a sense of belonging, for a place where they can let their guard down and be seen for who they truly are. But the higher they rise, the further they drift from the very thing they need: love, connection, and understanding. It's a cruel irony, really. The more they are chosen, the more they feel broken. The more they achieve, the more they lose themselves. And in the end, they realize that the true cost of being chosen is not measured in fame, wealth, or success. It's measured in the deep, aching loneliness that comes with standing alone at the top, surrounded by a world that both elevates and isolates them. The more they achieve, the more they realize that the thing they truly long for is not recognition or admiration, but the connection they lost along the way. And that perhaps is the greatest tragedy of all. As the chosen ones continue their journey, the walls they've built around themselves become more entrenched. With every step forward, they drift further away from the world they once knew, and every new accomplishment seems to drive them deeper into isolation. It is as though their very success becomes the thing that distances them from others, creating an invisible barrier between them and the people they once held close. Friends and family may try to understand, but the reality of what they've become, the image of greatness that others have crafted for them, makes it nearly impossible for anyone to connect with the person they truly are. The world sees them as an icon, a symbol of achievement, but in their heart they feel invisible, lost in a crowd of admirers who never truly see them. For the chosen ones, this isolation begins to feel like a prison. It's not a physical prison, but an emotional one, a cage of expectations, of constant scrutiny, and of the relentless pressure to remain perfect. The irony is that while others admire their success, the chosen ones themselves are consumed by an overwhelming sense of dissatisfaction. They may have achieved everything they set out to do, but now that they're at the top, they feel like they've lost the very things that made life meaningful in the first place: genuine human connection, authenticity, and the simple joy of being themselves without the weight of expectations. In the midst of this isolation, the chosen ones begin to question their worth. What is the value of all their accomplishments if they cannot share them with someone who truly understands? They may wonder if they have traded their soul for success, if the price of being chosen has been their very identity. The more they achieve, the more they realize how little they actually have, at least in the emotional sense. They may have all the material wealth they could ever want, all the accolades, all the adoration of the world, but they feel like they've sacrificed the things that matter most: love, friendship, and a sense of belonging. This feeling of emptiness becomes a constant companion. It's not just about having no one to talk to. It's about feeling like no one can truly hear them. They are surrounded by people, but these people only see the image they've created, not the person they are underneath. They begin to wonder if they will ever find someone who can truly see them, someone who can look beyond the facade of success and recognize the vulnerability and humanity that still exists within. The more they long for connection, the more they realize that the very thing they seek, the true intimacy and understanding they crave, seems increasingly out of reach. The chosen ones often experience what can only be described as an emotional void. It's a feeling of numbness, of being disconnected from the very things that used to bring them joy. They may go through the motions of daily life, smiling for the cameras, attending events, giving speeches, but inside they feel hollow. Every achievement seems to fade into the background, as if it never really mattered. The sense of accomplishment that once filled them with pride now feels insignificant, like a fleeting moment that was never meant to last. What remains is a sense of yearning for something deeper, something real. But despite this yearning, there's a fear that holds them back. Fear of vulnerability. The chosen ones often feel as though they cannot afford to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is seen as weakness, and for someone who is constantly in the spotlight, weakness is a dangerous thing. They fear that if they show any sign of doubt or insecurity, they will be seen as flawed, unworthy of their success. So they bury their true selves even deeper, hiding behind the mask of perfection that they've been forced to wear. This fear of vulnerability only deepens their sense of isolation, as they remain locked in a cycle of emotional suppression. They long to let go, to be free from the weight of their success, but the fear of judgment keeps them trapped in the persona they've created. What makes matters worse is the emotional exhaustion that comes with constantly performing for the world. The chosen ones are expected to be the best, to always be at the top of their game. There's no room for failure, no space for mistakes. Every move they make is watched, scrutinized, and analyzed. This constant pressure takes an immense toll on their mental and emotional health. They may feel as though they are on a never-ending treadmill, running faster and faster, yet never getting anywhere. The exhaustion becomes overwhelming, but they dare not show it. They dare not admit that they are tired of the chase, that they are weary of the constant battle to remain on top. In the eyes of the world, they must always be strong, always be successful, always be perfect. And so the chosen ones continue to push forward, even when they no longer have the energy to do so. They continue to wear the mask of success even though it is slowly suffocating them. They continue to perform for an audience that will never truly know them, all the while hoping that someone, somewhere, will see beyond the persona they've created and recognize the person they truly are. But with each passing day, the gap between who they are and who they appear to be grows wider and the loneliness deepens. They are caught in a tragic irony. They have everything the world could offer, but they have lost themselves in the process. It is in these moments of deep reflection that the chosen ones begin to realize the true cost of their success. They understand, perhaps for the first time, that being chosen does not mean being whole. Success does not bring fulfillment, and recognition does not equate to happiness. What they have achieved may have brought them fame and admiration, but it has come at a steep price. An emotional price they can no longer ignore. The sacrifices they made, the relationships they neglected, the dreams they abandoned, the parts of themselves they buried are beginning to feel like an insurmountable weight. And no matter how much they achieve, no matter how many accolades they receive, it is clear that they will never be able to fill the void they feel inside. This realization is painful, but it is also liberating. The chosen ones may begin to question what they truly want out of life. They may ask themselves whether the pursuit of success is worth the emotional toll it has taken on them. And in doing so, they may come to understand that there is more to life than simply being chosen. There is more to life than being admired, recognized, or celebrated. The true measure of success, they may realize, lies not in what they have achieved, but in who they are. Who they are when no one is watching, when the accolades have faded, and when they are left alone with their thoughts. And it is in this moment of clarity, this moment of self-awareness, that the chosen ones begin to see the path forward. The way out of their loneliness and brokenness is not through more achievements, more recognition, or more success. It is through the rebuilding of their true selves, through reconnecting with the people they love, through rediscovering their passions, and through embracing their vulnerability. It is through understanding that their worth is not defined by their success, but by their humanity. The road ahead may be difficult, but it is a road worth walking. It is a journey of healing, of rediscovery, and of reclaiming the parts of themselves that were lost along the way. The chosen ones may have been broken by their success, but they have the power to heal, to rebuild, and to find the connection they so desperately need. It may take time, and it may require them to let go of the image they have spent so long building, but the reward is a life that is whole, filled not with the applause of the world, but with the love and understanding of those who truly see them for who they are. In the end, the greatest victory for the chosen ones is not in their accomplishments, but in their ability to find peace within themselves, to heal from the wounds of their past, and to build a life that is rooted in authenticity, connection, and love. And perhaps that is the true meaning of being chosen. Not to be elevated above others, but to learn how to stand beside them, hand in hand as equals in a shared human experience. As the journey of rediscovery begins, the chosen ones must confront the weight of their past. For so long they have been defined by their successes, by the achievements that set them apart. But now, as they seek a more meaningful existence, they realize that the identity they have carefully constructed no longer serves them. The persona they built to protect themselves from the world, the image of perfection, strength, and unyielding success, becomes a shackle. Every time they try to break free, they are reminded of the expectations that others have placed on them. They are expected to be perfect, to always rise above, to remain invincible. But inside, they feel anything but. The pressure is suffocating, and they can no longer continue the charade. The first step in the process of healing is letting go. Letting go of the need to be everything to everyone, to be the flawless figure that the world has projected onto them. This isn't an easy process, nor is it instantaneous. It requires vulnerability, something the chosen ones have spent their lives avoiding. Vulnerability means showing the world their cracks, their flaws, and their humanity. It means accepting that they are not invulnerable, not impervious to pain, not always at the top of their game. It means acknowledging that they are in fact human, and that it's okay to be human. But this acceptance of vulnerability is also where the true power lies. It is through vulnerability that the chosen ones can begin to reconnect with themselves and the world around them. The more they let go of the mask of perfection, the more they begin to see the world as it truly is, a place full of imperfections but also of beauty and authenticity. As they strip away the layers of their persona, they start to rediscover the person they were before the accolades, before the fame, before the pressure of being chosen. They begin to reconnect with the things that truly matter. The simple joys of life, the relationships that nourish their soul, and the passions that once fueled their spirit. But even as they begin this process, they are still haunted by the fear of judgment. It's deeply ingrained in them, this need to be perfect in the eyes of others. The chosen ones may fear that if they allow their true selves to be seen, they will be rejected, or worse, forgotten. They wonder if anyone will still care about them once the mask comes off. This fear of losing their place in the world, of no longer being chosen, keeps them locked in a state of inner conflict. They yearn to be free from the expectations, but they are terrified of what will happen when the world no longer elevates them to the status they once enjoyed. The process of rebuilding their lives, their identities, and their relationships requires immense courage. It requires a willingness to step into the unknown, to embrace uncertainty, and to face the possibility of being misunderstood. But this is the price of healing. It is the cost of becoming whole again. For too long, the chosen ones have lived in a state of denial, refusing to acknowledge the emotional toll that their success has taken on. But now, as they open their hearts and minds to the possibility of true connection, they begin to understand that the only way forward is to face their fears and their vulnerabilities head on. The fear of rejection is not easily overcome. But in confronting it, the chosen ones begin to realize something profound. True connection is not based on perfection or status, it is based on authenticity. The people who truly matter, the ones who will love and support them, not for their accomplishments but for who they are, will still be there when the mask comes off. And in fact, they may be the very people who can help them heal. The chosen ones may have spent so much of their lives feeling alone, but they begin to see that they were never really alone at all. There are people in their lives who have always cared about them for who they are, not for what they have achieved. This realization is both freeing and humbling. The chosen ones begin to understand that their worth is not tied to their success, to their accomplishments, or to their fame. They are worthy of love and connection simply because they exist. This understanding shifts their perspective, allowing them to let go of the fear of judgment and embrace the beauty of being human. They begin to see themselves as flawed, yes, but also capable of growth, of love, and of deep connection. They realize that they do not need to be perfect to be loved, and that true fulfillment comes not from the applause of the world but from the relationships that sustain them through life's ups and downs. As they rebuild, the chosen ones start to find peace in their brokenness. They begin to accept that their pain, their loneliness, and their struggles are part of what makes them who they are. They are not defined by their successes alone. They are defined by the journey they have taken, the highs, the lows, the struggles, and the triumphs. And in this acceptance, they find healing. It is a healing that comes not from avoiding pain, but from embracing it and learning to move through it with grace and strength. They are no longer afraid of their imperfections, for they understand that it is in these imperfections that they find their humanity. As the process of healing continues, the chosen ones begin to reconnect with the world in a way they never thought possible. The relationships they once neglected or pushed aside begin to flourish once more. They reach out to old friends, rekindle bonds with family, and build new connections based on trust, love, and shared vulnerability. The loneliness that once defined them starts to fade, replaced by a sense of belonging and purpose that they have longed for. They realize that being chosen is not about standing alone at the top. It's about standing with others, supporting one another through the highs and lows of life. The chosen ones are no longer isolated in their greatness. They are part of a community, a collective of individuals who are all on their own journeys of growth and self-discovery. But even as they find new connections, the chosen ones must continue to confront the challenges that come with their success. The pressure to be perfect, to remain at the top, will always be there, lurking in the background. But now they are equipped with a new understanding of themselves. They no longer measure their worth by the applause of the world or the admiration of others. Instead, they measure their worth by their ability to live authentically, to connect deeply, and to remain true to themselves no matter what external expectations may be. They have learned that true success is not about external validation, but about inner peace, self-acceptance, and the ability to love and be loved. The healing journey is not linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when the loneliness feels overwhelming. But the chosen ones now understand that these moments do not define them. They are simply part of the ongoing process of growth. They know that the pain they feel is not a reflection of their brokenness, but of their humanity. And through this understanding, they find the strength to continue moving forward, embracing the messy, beautiful journey of life. In the end, the chosen ones come to realize that the true meaning of being chosen is not about being above others or standing alone in the spotlight. It is about learning to walk alongside others, to share in the joys and sorrows of life, and to find strength in vulnerability. It is about understanding that success does not come from external accolades, but from the deep connections we forge with others and with ourselves. The chosen ones may have felt lonely and broken in the past, but through their journey of healing they discover that they are never truly alone. They are part of a greater human experience, one that is rich with love, growth, and shared vulnerability. And in this discovery they find true peace. As the chosen ones continue to walk the path of healing, they begin to see the world through a different lens. The glare of success no longer blinds them, and they can finally recognize the subtle beauty of life that they once overlooked. In their pursuit of greatness, they had been so focused on the destination that they had forgotten the importance of the journey itself. The need to constantly prove themselves, to outshine others, had left them numb to the simple, profound experiences that make life worth living. It is in these moments of quiet reflection that they start to understand the deeper lessons life has to offer, lessons that they had been too busy to learn before. One of the first realizations they encounter is that they have spent so much of their lives in a state of hyperdrive. They lived in a world of constant motion, where the next achievement, the next success, was always just beyond their reach. The pursuit of more, of better, of the next thing, became a never-ending cycle that drained them of their energy, their joy, and their connection to others. Now, as they slow down and begin to embrace stillness, they discover the power of simply being present. They realize that it is in these moments of quietude, of letting go of the need to perform or impress, that they can finally hear the whispers of their soul, the true desires, the passions, and the dreams that had been buried beneath the weight of external expectations. The beauty of this stillness lies not just in the peace it brings, but in the clarity it provides. The chosen ones begin to see that the goals they once pursued with such fervor may not have been the ones that truly mattered to them. They had been chasing an external definition of success, one dictated by society, by their peers, and by the very systems that had placed them on a pedestal. But as they peel away the layers of ambition and recognition, they begin to rediscover their authentic desires that have always been there, waiting patiently beneath the surface. These desires are not about fame or fortune. They are about meaningful connections, about pursuing passions that ignite their spirits, and about living a life that is aligned with their truest selves. This newfound clarity begins to shift their perspective on success. They realize that success does not lie in the accumulation of accolades, wealth, or status. Instead, it is found in the quiet moments of personal fulfillment, in the relationships that nourish their hearts, and in the ability to live a life of purpose and authenticity. The chosen ones now understand that they don't need to be constantly striving for more. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They no longer feel the need to be the best or to stand out above others. Instead, they find fulfillment in being true to themselves, in embracing the imperfection of life, and in sharing their journey with others who understand them. As they continue to shed the external layers of expectation, they also begin to heal the wounds of the past. For too long, the chosen ones had been defined by their success and the image they had created. They had sacrificed parts of themselves in the pursuit of external validation, and in doing so they had forgotten the importance of self-compassion. Now, as they confront the pain of their past decisions, they begin to forgive themselves for the choices they made out of fear, out of pressure, or out of a misguided sense of duty. They learn to embrace their mistakes, to see them not as failures, but as integral parts of their growth. In doing so, they free themselves from the weight of guilt and regret that has long held them captive. Healing also comes from understanding the nature of true relationships. The chosen ones, after having spent so much of their lives surrounded by superficial connections, begin to seek out deeper, more meaningful bonds. They reach out to those who have always loved them for who they truly are, not for what they have achieved. These relationships, often with family, old friends, or new acquaintances who have walked their own difficult paths, become a source of comfort and strength. The chosen ones begin to see that real love does not come from admiration or adoration, but from understanding, empathy, and the willingness to stand by someone through both the highs and the lows. One of the most powerful lessons they learn is the importance of setting boundaries. For so long they had given themselves to the demands of others, always striving to meet expectations and please those around them. But in their pursuit of success, they had lost sight of their own needs, their own desires. Now, as they begin to heal, they learn the importance of saying no, of protecting their emotional energy, and of carving out space for themselves. This newfound ability to set boundaries allows them to prioritize their own well-being, and to engage in relationships that are nurturing and supportive rather than draining and harmful. At the same time, the chosen ones begin to understand that healing is not a linear process. There will be setbacks. There will be moments of doubt when the weight of their past accomplishments pulls them back into the familiar patterns of striving and seeking validation. There will be times when they feel overwhelmed by the pressure to live up to their old image, when they question whether they are enough without their success. But through these moments of struggle, they learn that it is okay to falter, that it is okay to take a step back, and that healing is not about perfection but about progress. They begin to embrace the messy, nonlinear nature of personal growth, understanding that the road to healing is not always clear or straightforward. The chosen ones also come to understand that they are not alone in their struggles. As they open up to others and share their journey of self-discovery, they find that there are many people who have walked similar paths. These shared experiences create a sense of solidarity and belonging that they had long been missing. They begin to realize that everyone at some point or another feels lost, broken, or disconnected. They begin to see that the very things that once made them feel isolated, their success, their fame, their achievements, are often the things that others struggle with too. This shared human experience brings them closer to others, breaking down the walls of isolation and creating a sense of community. In this newfound sense of connection, the chosen ones rediscover the power of vulnerability. They learn that it is in their moments of vulnerability, when they allow themselves to be truly seen, that they find the deepest connections. No longer afraid of being judged or rejected, they open up to others in ways they never thought possible. They share their pain, their joy, their fears, and their dreams, and in doing so, they discover the incredible power of human connection. This vulnerability becomes a source of strength, not weakness, as they realize that it is through their shared experiences, their openness, and their willingness to be authentic that they build the most meaningful relationship. The chosen ones begin to see that their worth is not determined by their success, their fame, or their image. They are worthy because they are human, because they have the capacity to love, to grow, and to connect with others. This realization frees them from the shackles of external validation and allows them to embrace the fullness of who they are. They no longer feel the need to prove themselves to anyone, and in doing so they find peace. They understand that the most important thing in life is not to be chosen by the world, but to choose themselves, to choose authenticity, vulnerability, and connection. As they move forward, the chosen ones begin to create a life that is aligned with their true selves. They pursue passions that bring them joy, invest in relationships that nurture them, and cultivate a sense of peace and contentment that comes from within. They are no longer chasing after the next big thing, the next success, the next validation. Instead, they focus on what truly matters, living a life that is grounded in authenticity, love, and purpose. In the end, the chosen ones come to understand that their journey was never about achieving greatness or standing apart from others. It was about finding themselves, about rediscovering their humanity, embracing their vulnerabilities, and learning to love themselves. They realized that they were never broken in the first place. They were just lost. And in finding their way back to themselves, they have become whole. Whole not because they have achieved everything the world expects of them, but because they have learned to embrace their imperfections, to connect with others, and to live a life that is true to who they are. And in this truth they find peace. The journey of the chosen ones is not over. It never really is. Even after reaching a place of peace where the weight of isolation and perfection has been shed, there remains the ongoing task of living authentically, of constantly realigning their lives with their true self. The world may still look to them for guidance, for strength, and for inspiration, but now they approach these expectations with a new understanding. They are not the idols others believe them to be. They are simply human with flaws, doubts, and needs, just like everyone else. The realization that they do not need to be a perfect model of strength and success in order to be worthy of love and respect is both liberating and humbling. In their pursuit of authenticity, the chosen ones begin to recognize the importance of living a life that aligns with their core values. For so long, they had been guided by external forces, by societal standards, by the desires of others, and by the pressure to perform. Now they can take a step back and ask themselves, what truly matters to me? What do I want from life, and how can I live in a way that reflects my deepest beliefs? These questions become the foundation for their decisions, their relationships, and their goals moving forward. One of the most powerful shifts they experience is the transformation of their relationship with time. Time, which had once been a constant race, a ticking clock driving them to achieve more, to do more, to be more, becomes something far more precious. They come to understand that every moment of their lives is an opportunity to live fully, to appreciate the simple joys, and to build relationships that are genuine and meaningful. No longer are they in a hurry to reach the next milestone, because they now understand that the journey itself is where life's true richness lies. With this shift in perspective, the chosen ones begin to invest more deeply in the people they love. No longer burdened by the relentless pursuit of achievement, they have the space to nurture relationships in ways that they had once neglected. The bonds they form with family, friends, and new acquaintances are now grounded in authenticity, not in what they can offer or how much they can impress. They share their vulnerabilities, their dreams, and their fears, and in doing so, they discover the true depth of connection that can only come from mutual understanding and acceptance. In this new way of living, they also learn the importance of self-care. For years, they had put the needs of others and the demands of their success before their own well-being. They had pushed themselves to the limit, believing that to be truly successful, they had to sacrifice everything for the cause. But now they realize that true success is not about sacrificing themselves. It is about taking care of their mind, body, and soul so that they can give their best to the world. Self-care becomes a vital part of their lives, whether it's through moments of solitude, creative expression, physical exercise, or simply finding peace in the quiet moments. This focus on self-care also allows the chosen ones to reconnect with their passions, those things they once loved but had forgotten in the rush to achieve. Whether it's painting, writing, cooking, or playing music, they begin to make time for these activities once more. These passions become a form of nourishment, a way to express themselves that is free from the pressure of performance or external judgment. The joy of creating simply for the sake of creation is a powerful reminder that life is not always about striving to be the best. Sometimes it is enough to simply be. At the same time, the chosen ones also recognize the need for balance. For so long, they had been consumed by the need to succeed, to prove their worth, and to outshine others. But now they understand that true fulfillment lies in balancing the different aspects of life: their work, their relationships, their passions, and their inner peace. They learn to set boundaries, to say no when they need to, and to prioritize what truly matters. This balance becomes essential to their well-being, allowing them to navigate the world with a sense of ease and harmony that they had once thought impossible. Even as they continue to grow and heal, the chosen ones face the ongoing challenge of being in the public eye. The world may continue to place them on a pedestal, expecting them to be everything they once were, the flawless, unbreakable figures they once portrayed. But the chosen ones now understand that they cannot meet those expectations without sacrificing themselves in the process. They no longer strive to be the perfect image that others want them to be. Instead, they embrace their humanity, their imperfections, and their vulnerability. In doing so, they not only liberate themselves, but they also offer a gift to others, the permission to be human, to make mistakes, and to embrace the beauty of imperfection. The chosen ones also realize that their journey is not just about healing themselves, but about helping others along the way. Having experienced the depths of loneliness, brokenness, and the pain of being disconnected from their true selves, they now possess a unique understanding of the human experience. They can use their story to inspire others, to offer a sense of hope to those who feel lost or broken. By sharing their struggles and triumphs, they become beacons of light for others who may be walking a similar path. They use their experiences not as a way to elevate themselves, but as a way to lift others up, to show them that healing is possible, and that they too can find their way back to themselves. This shift in perspective is powerful. The chosen ones begin to see themselves not as individuals who need to be celebrated, but as part of a collective human experience. They understand that everyone, in their own way, faces struggles and challenges, and that it is in sharing those struggles that we find strength. They realize that their purpose is not to be idolized, but to connect. to connect with others in authentic ways, to create a sense of community, and to share in the journey of life together. In embracing this sense of connection, the chosen ones find that they no longer feel isolated in their journey. They no longer feel as though they are standing alone at the top, above everyone else. Instead, they feel part of something greater, part of a shared experience that transcends success, fame, and achievement. They find solace in knowing that they are not alone in their struggles, and that by being vulnerable, they create the space for others to be vulnerable as well. In this mutual openness, they find a deep sense of belonging that they had longed for throughout their journey. As they continue to grow and evolve, the chosen ones find that the process of healing and self-discovery is not something that ever truly ends. It is an ongoing journey, one that requires continuous reflection, adaptation, and growth. But they also come to understand that this is not a burden, it is a gift. The ability to evolve, to learn, to heal, and to become more authentic with each passing day is a privilege, not a curse. And in this understanding, they find peace. They realize that being chosen was never about reaching a destination. It was about the journey itself. The process of discovering who they truly are and embracing the person they were always meant to be. As they walk forward, the chosen ones do not seek perfection. They do not seek fame or recognition. They seek authenticity, connection, and peace. They seek the kind of life where they can be true to themselves and live in harmony with others. And in that pursuit, they find that they are not broken or alone. They are whole, they are loved, and they are exactly where they need to be. And that ultimately is the greatest gift of all. The chosen ones, having faced their fears, embraced their vulnerabilities, and rediscovered their true selves, find that they are not just chosen for greatness, they are chosen for love, for connection, and for a life that is full of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. They are chosen to be human. And in that truth they find peace, joy, and the strength to continue their journey with courage, hope, and unwavering authenticity.